Hi there, crafty friends. Welcome and thank you for joining me. Today, I thought we would use Pink Fresh Studios Cheerful Blossoms Suite. So in this suite, you can purchase the stamp set, the hot foil plate, which I already have warming up, the coordinating die, and the stencils. We will be using the press plate, the stencils, and the die. And I just loved these dainty images. They are so pretty. I am not using the stamp set because I am using the hot foil plate, but then we will also be using the nested rectangles, postage edge dies, and the new suite. This is Basic Sentiments. You can get the stamp set, the hot foil plates, and the coordinating dies, but we are only using the dies. I kind of have an idea in my head how this card is going to go. So let's go ahead and get started. I already have my Glimmer machine all warmed up. So let's pull that out of there. And today I am using pewter foil. I am all out of my regular black that I like to use. So we will be using pewter, shiny side down. Let's get our cardstock on there and our plates. You always want the green shim towards the heat. Let me run that through and let's see what we got. That peeled off perfectly. I love that. That is such a dainty image. I just love this set. So let's get this out of the way and we can go ahead and get started. So I have a couple things prepped. I don't have a card already made, but I have an idea in my mind how this is going to go. So let's start with the stencils and we're going to get those all lined up, starting with stencil number 1. And we are going to start with our greens. For our greens, I am going to use my go-to colors. I've got Grassy Knoll and Olive. We will be starting with the Grassy Knoll. And I'm just going to bring in my brush and we're just going to very lightly add color here. I don't want it too dark because I'm going to add my accent with the olive. And these little images, I just love these images, the dainty images. They are so pretty. So we're just kind of winging it. I have something in mind, but I didn't do a sample. We're just going to get some color on there. I hope everybody is doing fabulous. Christmas is almost here. Oh my goodness. I hope everybody is prepared and not stressing out. There is no reason to stress. We have Christmas every year at the same time and I'm always behind, but that's okay. I'm not going to worry about it. Tomorrow I will be making Christmas cookies. I did most of my shopping online because I didn't have a whole lot of chance to get out the last month and a half. But I think I'm ready. And if I'm not ready, you know what? Oh well, it'll be okay. So now I'm going to bring in Olive and I'm going to start with my larger brush, but then we're going to pick up the little tiny brush. I just want to get some darker color at the base of these leaves. So now we're going to move on to our smaller leaves and I'm going to bring in my this is the shader 0 Plus from Waffle Flower. And these are my favorite blending brushes. I love these. And we're just going to get some color at the base of those little itty bitty leaves. I think that's pretty good. I think we got all of those leaves covered. Let's bring in our microfiber cloth and just give that a little wipe, just like that. And then we can take a look, and that is pretty. I love the greenery. Stencil number 2. Let's get this one lined up. That is all ready, and we can move on to our pinks. For our pinks, I am using Sparkling Rose and Bubblegum. We're going in first with our Sparkling Rose, and we are going to do this the same exact way. that we did the greenery. We're just going to go in really light for our first color, and then we will come in darker for our second color. So let's move on to bubblegum now. So for bubblegum, we are just going to go around the edges, and bubblegum is pretty deep. That's a bright pink. So we are just going to very gently, with a light hand, go around the edge of the flowers. And I'm not starting in the middle of the flower and working out this time, because these flowers have little centers in there that we're going to color in with our last stencil. Uh-oh, got a little heavy there. I didn't tap off quite as much as I should, but I think it will smooth out once that ink dries. So now we've got our smaller flowers, and we're just going to hit those edges again. Let's try to smooth that one out just a little bit. I think that'll be good. Once that ink dries, it does smooth out. And just like that, we are already done with our pinks. Peel that off, and that is so pretty already. I love Pink Fresh stencils. They make it so easy. So now we are moving on to stencil 3, and we are moving on to orange. I am using Sunkissed and Clementine. Sunkissed is our lightest color. Everything used today will be listed and linked in the description below. We are just going in really light. So now we're moving on to Clementine. And I will use the larger brush here just to get around those larger flowers. And then we're going to bring in that smaller one again. We'll bring in our little brush. I thought I had one on my desk, but I think it rolled away. And we're just going to hit the edges of those little flowers. Ooh, and that is pretty. I love that. So now we are moving on to stencil number 4. And then we are going to bring in some yellows. For my yellows, I've got Sunshine and Marigold. Let's get our Sunshine on there. Try to do it as light as we can. All right, let's stick with that. Let's do our Marigold. And I think I'm going to start with the smaller brush just to be on the safe side. That took no time at all. Oh, that's really pretty. I wanted something very feminine, and I think we've achieved that here. So let's get our other stencil on, and this is just stencil number 5, and it's all the centers of our flowers. We've got that taped down, and so for the centers, I wasn't real sure what I wanted to do, but I think we are going to use persimmon. And we are just going to do all of the centers the same color, because I'm hoping on the pink flowers that persimmon looks a little bit different than it does on the yellow and orange flowers. All right, we are done with our persimmon, and that is beautiful. I love that. You know, Pink Fresh just makes this so easy with their stencils. I love their floral images. So now we can bring in that coordinating die, get that lined up and cut that out. And these images just pop right out of that die. Isn't that pretty? We've got a little pieces we need to pop out in a couple of the floral images, but these are so pretty. We got 14 images out of this one die. And that was so quick and easy. Oh my goodness. I love those. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to trim this off, and we are going to use this piece here for our sentiment. So that'll fit on there good. My plan here We're going to use the thanks, but I want it to match my images. So what we will do is we are going to go direct to paper with our bubble gum. We are going to take our ink pad and just take it direct to that paper and get that whole thing all inked up. I don't want to get too much ink on my fingers, so I'm going to have that paper there just kind of hold this. We're just going direct to paper to color that in so it all matches perfect. So what I'm going to do here is, because going direct to paper like that does make your paper pretty wet, I am going to hit that with my heat gun, and then I am going to take it over to my die cut machine and I will cut my thanks out of there. And once I heat set that, that color did smooth out and it did fade just a little bit. You know, once that ink dries on there. Okay. Very gently pull your thanks out. It's a very delicate die cut, but it does come out really nice. And then I have a couple things here that I did prep. I have it in my mind. I've got 4 by 5 1/4. I've got the postage die, and I used the second from largest, and I just cut that out of Lawn Fawn Pixie Dust cardstock. And then I also cut one out of plain white, and I just trimmed it. I trimmed it inside the stitch marks so it would fit on the pixie dust perfectly. So let's get that attached. And when I do glue onto glitter cardstock, I do like to use quite a bit of glue because I want to make sure that that adheres, and then center it in those stitch marks. I don't know if you can see them, but I can see them in person. Those stitch marks still show up even through that glitter cardstock. So let's get a block on that and let that set up. Then I've got in white, I have little paper hairs all over. Then I've got in white, I did the thanks 3 times and I stacked those. But now we are going to stack our colored piece onto there. And that's just going to give us some really good dimension. And we're just going to stack this. Then we can add a little bit more glue behind this. I cut out the shadow die with some more of that Lawn Fawn Pixie Dust. Let's get some glue on here and get that attached to the glitter paper. I think that's good. And I'm going to put a block on that and let that rest for a minute because I want that glue to adhere to that glitter paper. So now I will add my postage rectangle here onto my 4 by 5 1/4 piece, and I'm just going to center that as best as I can. So now we can figure out how we want to lay out our pieces. So I'm thinking I don't necessarily want it centered. I want it a little more to the top, and I think we're just going to go around the corners, around the bottom and the top. Okay, so let's get those on. So I've got some foam behind this one. I did just want to mention that I am kind of just fluffing my flowers just a little bit for more dimension. So now we can go ahead and we can add our little accent flowers. I think those arrangements are looking nice and full. So now I will get all my other little flowers down. There we go. I've got all my pieces adhered. We've got some with foam squares behind them, some directly adhered to our panel. Now all we have to do is add our gems. So I wasn't sure what I wanted to use. If I wanted to use the glitter drops or if I wanted to use the clear drops. You know, I'm kind of leaning towards the glitter drops just because we have glitter already on there, and I think it will just make everything sparkle even more. And that card is done. I think that came out so cute. It looks just like it did in my mind before I started. I am loving a lot of white lately. I really like the white space. So I added gems in the centers of my flowers. I've got leaf, butterscotch, and blush. I only put blush on the main panel of the card, and the other colors are inside the flowers. I hope everyone has a wonderful Christmas. Merry Christmas. I appreciate you spending time with me. Thank you so much. I will see you next time. Bye-bye.